You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
And today, we're taking your questions on our first weekend house calls. So, really interesting group of questions today. I'm going to be answering some workout ones, some exercise ones, some nutrition ones, all sorts of different things. And the first one starts with a question that's actually quite common. And believe it or not, the question is often posed, but I honestly believe it's not always the truth. And so that question is this: I can't squat because I have knee issues. What else can I do for metabolic exercise? So I'm going to answer this two ways. One is I've been working with a lot of clients, and so has my team, for many, many years. So here's the thing. The reason why most people have knee pain when they squat is simply because they've never been shown to squat properly. And here's what I mean. When you go to sit down on a chair or sit down on your couch or anything like that, people typically don't have knee pain because they're sitting back and they're kind of moving with their hips because they know the chair is behind them. They know a couch is behind them. What happens is when we go to exercise, even if it's with body weight, people squat improperly, which I'll tell you about in a minute, and they get that knee pain. But the truth is, it's because they're squatting and moving their knees first. So meaning like they're flexing their knees, which just means they're bending their knees, and their knees are going over their toes, which is creating a shearing force that places too much tension on the actual bones in the knee. And the other thing is this: when you're squatting improperly, a lot of times, this is what I see every day in my practice as well when I'm still working with clients in an exercise capacity, is that their femur, the top bone in their leg, and there's only one there, is actually rotating internally. So it's twisting towards their other foot and leg. And then the two bones in the lower leg are actually externally rotating at the same time. And that's because up top there might be tight hip flexors around their hip area, or hamstring imbalances, and below there might be tight calf muscles, okay? So what happens is you get these bones working in different directions, and your knee, which is a simple hinge joint, which just bends forward and back, or that's what it should do, is actually forced to rotate, and that can cause some of that pain. So here's what we do. Well, of course, we're going to do some foam rolling, we're going to do some stretching, but we get clients just to sit back. I did a whole video on this, and I'm going to link that up in the show notes. It's a video I did quite a while ago that's very popular, and it shows you how to learn how to squat. And that's simply standing next to a wall with facing it, and you're just squatting so that you force your hips to sit back. But the other thing we do with every private client that enters our weight loss or body transformation program is that every exercise is taught one way. They sit back onto a box or onto a bench. It's because then we know they're going to feel comfortable. It's like a safety net, I always call it. You can sit back on your hips. So I personally believe, and this is with like literally every client I've worked with, okay, yeah, I know you have knee issues, and I've heard that before, but try this. 99 out of 100 times, more than 9 out of 10 times, 99 out of 100, there's no more knee pain. It's simply because there's no more shearing force. We allow their feet to do what they're going to do. If they want to turn out, we allow that to happen. We don't force them to turn out in the beginning. And then we have them sit back. That is going to be the quote-unquote cure for most people's knee issues when they squat. And since it's such a metabolic exercise, you get so much out of it, and there's really no comparison, it'd be great if you can do it. So I'll link up in the show notes how to do that. And the second part is this, that if you can't do squats, that's okay. What I'm going to recommend is, because there could be certainly in a hamstring imbalance, which is the muscle in the back of the leg, and those sometimes get weaker because most people are more dominant with the muscles in the front of their body, and that includes the quadriceps in the front of the thigh. So what I want you to do is this. I want you to work on what's called Romanian deadlifts. And that just means you're basically holding two weights by your side. You can use dumbbells, cables, whatever it might be. And you're going to sit back with your hips. You're going to sit back with your hips, feel your hamstring stretch while keeping a neutral spine. So don't let your spine round out. Look straight ahead and feel those hamstrings stretch and then stand back up to the top. So you're going to kind of lean forward, let the dumbbells stay by your side, and then stand all the way back up. And I have lots of videos on this as well. That will help strengthen the muscles that are most likely too weak to help balance out those knees in the first place. So that would be my recommendation. And anonymous, because you are anonymous, that's what I would recommend for you. So the next question comes in from Fran. Fran is asking, can I eat candy after a workout since I'm going to use the sugar? So this has been brought up, believe it or not, quite a number of times. And that's because there are literally magazines that are telling people to drink like chocolate milk and, have a Snickers bar or some type of candy after a workout. And their rationale is that, well, you just burn sugar so that you're going to use the sugar. So that part is absolutely correct. Without a doubt, there's no denying that. The science shows that when you've depleted glycogen stores, which just means you've depleted some of your sugar stores in your liver and in your blood and a little bit in your muscles, then you're going to want to replenish that. I totally get that. But what they don't tell you is this, and they always seem to leave out, the real science. They just give you the sensationalism, and that's why I really don't like a lot of magazines in general or a lot of online articles. It just gives you like the surface level stuff. It never goes deeper, the stuff that really matters. So here's the thing. Sure, you could have candy after your workout, but what you don't realize is that although you most likely use a lot of the sugar, you create more inflammation. Now, when you just worked out, you created inflammation. I would say it's actually a healthier form of inflammation because that inflammation will allow your body to become stronger as long as you didn't overdo it. Again, 30 to 40 minute workout, perfect. An hour and a half workout, not so great unless you get a lot of sleep and you eat perfect and you're an athlete. So here's what I would say is you have to watch out for the inflammation. That's what no one talks about. If you created inflammation in your muscles from breaking them down from a hard workout, and then you're eating a candy bar or candy or a muffin or something sugary, well, you're going to add more inflammation and you're going to add it systemically through the intestines, through the gut itself, and then into the overall, the blood itself, and create more of an immune reaction, essentially. So what I would recommend is this. If you want something sweet after your workout, great. Go for sugar. Go for the things that your body wants, but make sure it's coming from fruit. Ideally, that's what it is. Right after your workout, you're going to have berries, pineapple, or say like you want one of the more high glycemic fruits, like maybe a mango or papaya or something more exotic like that. Have them. Enjoy that around a half a cup to a cup. You could have more potentially. Just, of course, it depends on whatever your goals are. And enjoy that instead. Now, I can tell you this as well, though. If you are someone who likes to have a little bit of sweets every day and you're just not going to change that, yes, after a workout, I do agree is the best time to have that. But just keep in mind that you can't go unscathed from doing that, even though you just did work out, because you still have to deal with the inflammatory-based effects. Hopefully that answers your question, Fran. Good question. And the last question today is from Bobby B. And Bobby B is asking, what's one exercise you recommend for a smaller waist? So this question, I think, is kind of a play on, people always talk about, well, what's the best ab exercise to do for a smaller waist? But a lot of people are also realizing that abs alone are not going to get you a smaller waist. Meaning, like, you can do lots of crunches, lots of sit-ups, but that doesn't shrink your waist. It can actually tone and strengthen the abdominal muscles underneath for sure, but how are you going to see it? So I'm not going to get into the nutrition aspect of this because I have talked about it before. Meaning, like, you have to use the nutrition, the anti-inflammatory based diet plans, those types of things, to lose the weight on your waist to then see all the work that you've done for your abs. So there's one thing I will say that does actually work, and that's core-based exercises that are basically isometric in nature. That means you're doing the exercise, but your waist has to stay tight the whole time. One of those exercises that I really like is called a chop. And you may have heard of that one before. There are lots of different ways to do it, but the nice thing is you can do it right at home with just a band. By attaching a band in the doorway, by hooking it around something stable, you can actually step like 3, 4, 5 feet away and do chops, which is basically like holding this band to let's say the right side of your body, keeping your body in a nice athletic stance with your knees bent, and then chopping that band straight across your shoulders. So basically you attach it at shoulder height, you chop straight across your body. There's probably maybe 1 million videos on this on YouTube. I'll certainly see if I can link up one of mine as well on chops. But Great exercise. Why do I like chops? Well, a couple reasons. One is you're looking forward the whole time. You're actually not doing a crunch. You're keeping your abs tight as you move your arms across your body. You're not rotating in the type of chop that I'm talking about, but what you're doing is isometrically tightening your waist, which strengthens your lower back. It strengthens your hip flexors, it strengthens your obliques, and it strengthens your abs. So what you're doing is you're tightening and toning all of the muscles in your waist that make you essentially stand up taller and give you a smaller, leaner waist. So it's a great adjunct to all of the ab work you might be doing right now. And believe it or not, it's a lot safer. So what I would say is start with this if you haven't really got into an ab program. It's much better for you. And it's also far more functional, which means like you're going to strengthen the entire core. That means your lower back, obliques, again, the muscles that connect to the groin as well, and your abs, and not just flex the spine in one particular range of motion, which isn't as natural, not as functional. This is also a phenomenal exercise when I work with golfers, athletes, tennis, squash, all of those things. Really amazing exercise. And to be honest, I can't think of a person that I wouldn't recommend it to. Like, even if you have back issues, as long as it's not flared up at that moment, this is an exercise I highly recommend doing because you're not flexing your spine at all, which means you're not rounding your spine. You're not doing anything like that. You're actually resisting rotation and you're moving your mid back instead of your lower back, which is exactly how the spine is meant to work, that thoracic mobility. So, Bobby, hopefully this answers your question. Try adding 2 or 3 sets per workout a couple times a week to your program, and I know that you're going to see benefits from that. My clients love it, and I know you will too. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into another Cabral House Call.
Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.